Cheers, everybody. Yep. Got a call from Channel 5. They said, capital, Floyd, capital. I thought, quaint, charming, but praise indeed. No, no, my manager said, because he speaks like that. No, what they mean is they want you to do a series on European capitals. Well, simply a question of choice. Theirs, not mine. Along the way, I'll be visiting Scotland, where my cooking comes under fire at Edinburgh Castle. Oh! As I walk through Austria, there's a bit of a flare-up on the streets of Vienna.
Doesn't matter, we've got another cameraman.
I spend an autumnal morning in the Czech Republic, catching my own supper in the fish lakes near Prague.
It is one of the most beautiful sights I think I've ever seen.
And I head north to Scandinavia to sample the spirit of Oslo.
Oh, my God. Oh, even for me, I can tell you this is 1 over the 8.
And with the festive season looming, I'll be taking a break from my travels with 2 programmes dedicated to creating some superb seasonal dishes to celebrate Christmas a la Floyd. So, here we are. Merry Christmas. Yay! But first, I'm on my travels. So, what better place to start my European jaunt than in the capital city of my adopted country, Spain, here in Madrid, one of the noisiest cities in the world. Today, Madrid is a bustling, slightly dirty, vibrant city. One of the first things you notice about Madrid is that much of the Madrileño's lifestyle revolves around food. There are more than 3,000 restaurants, and if you include cafes and tavernas, there are over 15,000 places to eat. This is Botin's, the oldest restaurant in the world, along with all the other oldest restaurants in the world that I've visited. And it's been continually serving the people of Madrid since 1725. Suckling pig and lamb are the specialities here, and they're cooked in what was originally a baker's oven. The lambs are 40 days old and an ideal weight of around about 4 kilos. They're flavoured with onion, garlic, bay leaf, parsley, thyme, white wine, and sweet paprika. Then they're cooked for 1.5 hours. The pigs take 21 days to reach the same weight, and they're prepared in the same fashion, but cooked for about 2 hours. Not exactly the sort of dish you'd see winging out of the designer kitchens in Musgrove Hill and Hampstead Heath, but it's nice to know that nothing has changed here over 300 years. Wood fires, old-fashioned pigs, old-fashioned dishes, and a taste you can't buy unless you come here. I've no query about the cooking time, but I felt the seasoning was a little sparse. Personally, I'd have really stuffed them with flavour. This is the kind of old-fashioned kitchen where the adage, if you can't stand the heat, don't come into it, really applies. These old stoves here are fired by coal and are absolutely intensely hot. But a very simple light lunch or supper dish of fried peppers, tomatoes, tomato puree, garlic and onions, and then baked with eggs. Rather delicious and terribly, terribly simple. Oil into the thing first of all. Then some red peppers, coarsely chopped. Then add the onions. Let those saute away for a few moments. Now we can add a little garlic. I say a little, I actually mean quite a lot. This restaurant has been here in this building since 1720, something like that. Very, very famous old place. Mentioned in Hemingway's Death in the Afternoon as a better place to be in the afternoon than necessarily watching things being murdered in the bull ring. Parsley into there now. Now we can add some tomato pieces, no pips, just the little quarters cut up. I think we'll have a drop more olive oil. And we'll let those simmer away now for a bit while we start my other little dish, which is something the Spanish absolutely adore, are broad beans. One of their favourite ways of eating them is fried with little pieces of ham and served with garlic on a little plate as a tapper. But this is going to be a little tart with a broad bean pesto. So first of all, I put some cooked broad beans, which I've peeled. Every one of those has been peeled, into the bowl here with some olive oil, with a little bit of garlic, some lemon juice, like so, and then with my little magic thing here,
That's partly pureed now. We'll add some coarsely chopped mint into the broad bean mixture and some parsley and some Parmesan cheese. Finally, a tablespoon of grain mustard. Mix that in well. And in real life, we put that in the fridge to refrigerate for about half an hour or so. Meanwhile here, I've got some chopped tomatoes, no skins, parsley, some black olives with no stones. Just mix those together with a little garlic, lemon juice, and olive oil. And the remaining cooked broad beans can go into there as well. They'll form a garniture on top of the little tartlets, which, of course, we've baked some nice little pastry cases, allowed them to cool. So I now just, let's assume the half an hour's gone by, load the cases with the pesto broad beans, like so. And then a spoonful of the olive, tomato, and bean salad on top. And that's about it for the moment. And I think even that's almost too warm to drink. Right, the peppers, tomatoes, onions, garlic are nicely cooked now. So they go into this earthenware baking dish. I'll stick that back over there somewhere. Now, I'll break a couple of eggs. There's one. Another egg. Then a few little pieces of bacon or ham sprinkled over the top of that. And now we just put it into the oven and bake it for a few moments for the eggs to bake in there.
Baked eggs with peppers, huevos flamenco. Peppers, garlic, tomatoes, red onions, tomato puree, simmered in olive oil, and then topped with eggs and bacon and baked in the oven. And a tartlet of broad bean pesto. A lovely mixture of broad beans, Parmesan cheese, olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, and grain mustard, which I've topped with chopped olives, tomatoes, little olive oil, and some whole broad beans. Now, if you're going to fully enjoy this city and get into the lifestyle, you've got some adjusting to do. First, throw away your watch because you're going to be staying out very, very late. And secondly, you've got to accept the fact you'll probably eat and drink more in a day than you usually do in a week.
If eating was a sport, then the Spanish would be undisputed world champions. The game kicks off early in the morning for breakfast with a light, high-cholesterol snack of deep-fried battens of batter dunked into a really lactic, oversweet, splendid cup of hot chocolate, which is actually very, very nice. You can then, and the choice is yours, wash that down with a glass of aniseed liqueur or a little swig of cognac. I think I'll stay with the cognac. And so it's off to the office, where you click on the web, discuss last night's football, and before you know it, it's 11 o'clock, time to pop out for a coffee and a tostada. And then around about 1:30 to 2, they blow the whistle for half-time, and it's a leisurely lunch, which can last for 1, 2, or 3 hours. So I do hope my office manager is back on time. After a hearty lunch, the players return to their office, check out the Dow Jones and the FTSE, and prepare themselves for the Marianda time. A simple question of coffee and cake. Around about 7 o'clock in the evening, the professional Spanish stomach quits the office and heads for the nearest tapas bar for a little snack to keep it going. Washed down, of course, with a delightfully chilled glass of fino, dry sherry, a drink which should not be reserved just for weddings and funerals. And finally, it's dinner time. But don't be put off if you wander into a restaurant in Madrid at 9 o'clock and there's no one there. They won't be. They don't start till at least 10. And the final whistle doesn't blow till at least midnight. Unless, of course, you're a true Brit and headed for the nearest Irish bar to finish the night off with a few settling pints of stout and lager. I'm wiser than that. Bon appétit, bon appétit.
As fish markets go, this is a big one. necessarily so because the Spanish adore fish, as I do, but I'd rather be eating it than getting up at 4 a.m. to buy it.
Daily, they sell 500,000 kilos of fish, from tuna like this to little sprats to squid to octopus to all of those different things. Now, in the Mediterranean, tuna fish are grilled with herbs. In Japan, they're eaten lovingly raw with wasabi and soy sauce. And yet, curiously, it's the Brits who eat most of it, but in tins.
Fortuitously, I've got my luxury mobile kitchen suite with me, so I set up my cooking stand and I've decided to fry some fish.
And blessed are they who go down to the sea and do their business in small ships. In other words, fishermen. Fantastic fish market, total chaos here, 7:30 in the morning. We've been up since 4. I've had a few carajillos, which are rather splendid, very strong black coffees, laced with cognac. So, first of all, I'm going to make some black rice, flavoured with squid ink. So I'll chuck some onions into this oil. And some rice, short grain rice. Most important, the olive oil coats all of the rice. Tip in then a bit of garlic. Give it a good stirring around. And some tomatoes. Now, meanwhile, over here, I already have some carrots, some fennel, and some asparagus. I'm now going to add some collops or some steaks of monkfish into that on a bed of coriander. And we'll let that steam away. Steaming is one of the very, very best ways to cook fish. It contains all the flavour, all the nutrients, and it doesn't burn. Right. While those things are happening, now, into our rice, we'll add a whole bottle of white wine. Very, very important, the white wine. Actually, talking of wine, I haven't got the bread myself. Okay, whack the lid on and let that cook away for the time being. Meanwhile here, we will attempt to make a sauce to go with our steamed monkfish and vegetables. In the frying pan I've got onions, stirred round with some garlic. I'll now add some mussels, which I've cleaned. The mussels here are opening. This is kind of a Spanglo-Asian dish. It's half Spanish, half English and half Thai. So I'm going to add some chilies to make it a little bit hot. Some tomato pieces. And some lemon juice. I'm now going to add some coconut milk into the mussels. And some very expensive saffron. We haven't got very much of it. I'm going to add a little bit of that. Let that cook away. And put the lid back on. Back over here again, check that's okay. Yeah, that's going well. So we'll now add some squid ink. This is going to make it black. Just let that reduce a little. Some pepper, please, Sean. Good morning. It's amazing, you know. My director says, why don't ordinary people attend a television course? I mean, how can they dare drive past us when we're trying to make a leading television program? It's only a fish market, for God's sake. Right, dill. Meanwhile, over here, we add the squid, all the prawns, and the lid goes back on.
A glistening, powerful black risotto. Simply rice cooked with squid ink and garnished with prawns and squid and other shellfish. A deceptively simple dish of steamed carrots, fennel and asparagus with fresh monkfish in a creamy, spicy coconut milk sauce. In Madrid, there's a chain of ham shops called Museo del Jamón, which means ham museum. Don't ask me why. There aren't any famous old pigs there.
the Spanish are very passionate about their hams. The cheapest can be about £4 a kilo, going right up to over £40 a kilo. And this will be for the finest, which is called pato negro. And these are the pigs which have been fed on acorns down in the deep south of Andalusia.
Although it's bought in very thin slices and in small quantities, this shop sells more than 40 hams a day. These are good places also for a snack and a beer, and of course you can smoke. Just down from the Opera House in Madrid, you'll find El Café de la Opera. Here you can have a meal served by friendly and attentive staff. But as I was waiting for mine, I noticed there was a certain expectancy amongst my fellow guests.
Intriguingly, as the evening wears on and the lights dim, the waitress gives you rather more than just a good meal. Welcome to the beggar's banquet.
The waiters and waitresses are all classically trained, sadly not as waiters, and are, as they say, between engagements, hoping for a lucky break and an agent who'll sign them up and whisk them away to international fame and fortune. Actually, that was a superb performance, and even the chef Alvaro joined in.
Just one conejo, give it to me.
La 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 lee. Now, conejo, as you of course know, is Spanish for rabbit, and that is our dish today, or at least one of our dishes. Jointed pieces of rabbit, terribly popular here in Spain, and they're very often free range. Cooked with some garlic, some celery, carrots, fennel, onions, an intriguing mixture of rabbit liver, ground pepper, garlic, and tomato puree. But the first thing to do is into this pan is to put our rabbit. Ouch. Be careful with your old camera, Mike. I know it's at risk, and so is what's left of your hair, because I will be flaming this in sherry quite shortly. Meanwhile, that simmers away there. Then, into this other pan, our onions, the carrots, fennel, whole cloves of garlic, and let them brown really nicely for 2 or 3 minutes. Meanwhile, now that the rabbit has browned, and once they're sealed, we can sprinkle them with a little bit of salt and flame it in some sherry, vino de Jerez, which is what it's called in Spanish. Now we can add the rabbit to the vegetable, then got some highly excellent rioja. I've been saying for years, if the wine isn't good enough to drink, it's certainly not good enough to cook with. And finally, this delicious mixture of the very finely chopped liver, ground pepper and garlic and tomato puree. It's called a pommade in French. Goes into there to help thicken and to flavour the ultimate dish. We stir that. So, there, that now simmers for about an hour on a very low heat. So, our next little snack is some delicious barbecued sweet and sour poussin, baby chickens. I've already cut them open and flattened them down, that's called spatchcocking them, marinated them in olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, herbs, and black pepper. In here, I've got some lovely honey, and I'm going to add into that a tablespoonful of mustard, a dash of the old Worcestershire sauce, a dash of sweet and sour chili sauce, or even just straight chili sauce, a dash of soy sauce, a dash of Tabasco, and we mix all that together. Let's just taste that. Sweet, and my God, it's hot. It's delicious. Okay, then the chicken's onto this flat here. paint this on. What you could do is you could paint this on and leave them in the fridge for half an hour before you cook them, so they absorb some of the flavours again. And then we simply pop them here onto the grill, one on that way, one on that way. And the object of the exercise is to keep turning the chickens over, the poussins over, and repainting them every 2 or 3 minutes with this lovely mixture. And the next time you see them, they'll be gorgeously cooked in one of our loving, what we call, pack shots. First, the rabbit, stewed in sherry and red wine and served with winter vegetables and a cheese-flavoured polenta cake. Then, a spatchcocked poussin, baby chicken, glazed with honey, chili and spices, and mustard, and cooked under the grill.
After Spain shook off the repression of Franco's years, it went a bit party mad, which I'm glad to say has continued to this day.
And it's not unusual to be stuck in a traffic jam at 4 o'clock in the morning. Some city.
But eventually, even here dawn breaks and the party's over, and a new day roars noisily into life.
The rain in Spain falls mainly in Madrid. But Madrid is one hell of a city. It rocks and rolls from dawn till dusk. There are a couple of downsides. The taxi drivers are appalling. I was trying to go to a restaurant the other morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to do some filming. And so I'm not taking it, it's not open yet. I said, don't ask questions, just do as you're told. The other thing is, the Spaniards are generically programmed to bump into you. Sherry-crazed little old ladies in black robes just crash into you like that and knock you sideways. But if you like food, and you like culture, and you like fun, Madrid is for you.